Hello and welcome to Are You Not Entertained? Before we get started today, I just wanted to kind of give everybody a heads up. If you haven't noticed already, all of our current and coming episodes now have advertising on them. We're doing this to help kind of offset some of the costs that are associated with this. We've been doing it for over 3 years now, working on our 4th year, without getting anything back for it, just paying for it out of our own pockets, which has been fine and fun. But it would be nice to kind of recoup some of those costs to help pay for all the hosting and the recording equipment and all the things that actually go into making a podcast like this. As awesome as we sound, it has to be paid for somehow.
Yeah.
So just a heads up, if the episode is under 30 minutes, then there'll be an advertisement at the very beginning and one at the very end. If it's longer than 30 minutes, there'll be one at the beginning, one at the end, and one in the middle. They are about 30 seconds. Feel free to just skip past those if you want. And we will be kind of looking at and playing with some of the settings to hopefully try to make it a little more of a listener-friendly experience. We haven't had the time to really play with them yet, but we will. So we'll see if we can make some changes and make it a little more palatable, I guess. So, just so you're aware. And I'm Daniel.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm James.
That was great.
Late coming in there.
Hey, thanks, Rachel.
I'm here too.
Yeah, exactly. And today we are going to be talking about Unhinged from 2020. Another one of those direct to streaming. Actually, no, this one came out in theaters. This came out in theaters and was not there very long and then went to the streaming services.
Made a brief appearance before going to streaming.
Yeah.
As things have done for a while.
Right. Yeah, well, if it wasn't bad enough prior to the pandemic where movies would be in the theater for just a couple weeks, and if they didn't do well, they were gone. This just kind of adds to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Unless you're Tenant and then you're there for like 4 months.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And good for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think, they're the only ones so far, so we'll see. But this is basically a story of road rage, homicidal road rage, and Russell Crowe's version of that.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this movie. It was
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know if I would say I was entertained.
Okay.
I didn't like this a whole lot. I thought it was done well. I thought it was acted well. I just kind of felt like while there was a premise, there was no message. It was like, I guess, try to be nice to people because you never know who's crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like, yes.
And so, I mean, it kind of, I guess the message is that, I don't know, it just seems pro-antagonist to a degree. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like an alternate message is if something terrible happens to you in a public place, no one will help you.
Oh.
So just accept it.
Wow.
I mean, you should kind of know that already. In case you didn't know that, now you know that.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where that's not exactly what you want to see of society. Maybe more so right now. You want to pretend the world's not quite as grim as it is.
Yeah.
And this movie did not give you any escape, which is
bill,
fair. It doesn't have to.
Yeah. And, maybe you're right. I think that if this did come out 3 years ago, it might have had a little bit different reception from me when,
when I didn't care about people.
when the world was a little more well, when things seemed a little less bleak.
Yeah.
Sure.
When my own life wasn't so terrible.
Yeah.
No, I'm kind of with you. I was slightly entertained, but I don't know that I was entertained in a positive way. I didn't like this movie.
Yeah.
Really at all. I spent most of the movie being angry at it and angry at the people in it. So not really a relaxing watch.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's
interesting
supposed to be a relaxing watch. I think it's supposed to kind of make you uncomfortable. I think that's kind of the goal of it.
Sure. I just was more frustrated with the way people behaved in this movie. Like our main character never really doing what seemed like the logical option.
Right.
She made a lot of really terrible decisions and continued to make bad decisions. And I mean, you know, fair enough. Most people don't understand how to behave in situations like this, but it just, yeah, it felt like a lot of people doing the wrong thing consistently.
Yeah, like the principal.
Yeah, so I just spent a lot of time
The
sitting there
principal,
going,
yeah.
why? Why are you doing that? Don't do that.
Yeah. The only one that really stood out to me that I liked a lot was the dude in the hoodie in the gas station.
Mhm.
Because usually
Yes.
the guy in the hoodie with the hood up and the hat on, he's just sketchy character at best.
Right.
But he was like one of the coolest dudes in this entire movie.
Murked.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally killed him.
Sketchy guy with a heart of gold dies in like
Right.
5 seconds.
Right.
It's not 5 seconds, but yeah.
He also made a really bad decision. You don't run towards the exit if he's driving at you.
No.
Run towards like the building.
Run
like,
back to the building. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you don't run down the street from the car chasing you. You run behind a tree.
Well, and like her being chased by someone in a car. Stop going to these secluded places. Go somewhere with lots of people, not under a bridge.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
we didn't really get into the spoiler alerts, by the
Sorry.
way. So sorry if we've already done that. But hey, here we go. Yeah.
By the way.
By the way.
Yeah. Also, I kind of hated the first part of the movie. When you the first opening scene where he's sitting in the rain,
Mm-hmm.
immediately I was like, I didn't even need to know anything else. Of course, he's a psychopath. Even before he lit the match and let it burn down, he has the window half cracked in the rain. It's unacceptable.
You're getting your car wet.
Yeah, even if you don't mind it splashing on you, you're like getting the inside of your car wet and damaged. That's not good for it. Anyway, but it also just shows that like he's been doing this for a while, and that takes away from the kind of like cracking nature of being of it being he just kind of is going through a hard time and just can't handle that nobody's ever giving him any respect or anything, and more of like he's just on a rampage and nobody's figured it out yet.
Right. You sort of pick up on his hard time later in the movie.
Right.
You
Well, I
don't
don't-
really discover that until it's
But I
launched
don't-
with a lawyer.
I didn't feel like it was necessary.
I didn't think he had
No.
been doing it for a long time. I was pretty sure that the opening scene was his first murder.
Okay.
Maybe, but you
Murder.
don't know.
Wasn't it his ex-wife and her new husband that he killed?
No, I don't think so. I
I
think
thought that's what the news report said.
maybe, but
It
I
was
was
one of those things like playing in the background, not like in the foreground of the movie. So
Mm.
Oh.
I could have misheard that or something.
Yeah, they talked about it a couple times on the news. I tried to pick up on it, but I didn't ever catch the full story.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to rewind and watch it and rewind and watch
God,
it again.
But it wasn't just that scene. Immediately after that, you have this incredibly long montage just about how everything's going to hell in a handbasket and crime is on the rise and depression is on the rise and pictures of people using their cell phones because that's the reason why everything's terrible. And just this kind of like your average 7:00 news fear baiting that just seemed kind of ridiculous to me. And it also made me kind of think maybe this is going to be more like Falling Down, so a little bit of hope there, and it did not live up to that.
No hope. None hopes. Yeah, no, that was one of the first things that Rachel actually said when we were watching this. She was like, this is so dark already.
Right.
This is nothing but doom and gloom from the
Grim.
beginning.
Yeah. No, that's right. What I said was normally that whole negative apocalypse vibe doesn't bother me, but I feel like right now, after being in the current world situation for about a year, I don't want to watch that in a movie because I get enough of like the negativity on a regular basis now.
Yeah.
That's fair. Well, so I don't have that problem. I don't have the problem that the two of y'all had.
Yes, Daniel's an empty pit.
I don't. Yes, exactly. I mean, it's a movie, right? Life sucks. Period. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
Right.
when you were born, what time it is, what's going on in the world. This is life. This is how things go. Sorry, I'm a realist. I'm a realist. Yeah. It can have very awesome and great times, but for the majority of the time, you have to do a bunch of things you don't want to do, and people suck, and things suck, and weather sucks, and everything sucks. So that's life. So
if you came to where you're not entertained for a positive outlook, you came to the wrong show.
See why I don't need more negativity in my films?
Yes, no, I understand. You need to go watch Moana.
But so that whole intro and all of that didn't give me a negative opinion of the movie from the get-go. It did seem to be speaking a little more toward the current times. I think you're right that it probably would have been received better at a completely different time when people weren't so kind of downtrodden and angry and all of the things that people seem to be currently.
Yeah.
Right.
But that being said, I didn't hate this movie at all.
It was done well.
Yeah, it was done well. I can't say that I like enjoyed the movie. It was fine. It was fine. I'll give it that category. I probably won't really ever watch it again, which is also fine. But it was lacking to me in kind of a message, I guess, kind of like what you were saying, James. It didn't have a message. There wasn't a motivation for anything.
Make sure you know where your candy cane scissors are.
Yes, exactly.
That's the message of the movie.
Because they'll save your life.
Yes.
To me, with this whole kind of pro-antagonist vibe and that stuff, it kind of feels like if Joker was less like interesting or edgy. If you took a film like that, where your supposed bad guy is the good guy in this crazy world, sort of, not that they're doing that as much with this film, but they want to make you sympathetic to his plight of people are just such jerks and I'm teaching them a lesson.
I think they think that you can
kind of cheap and kind of hollow through the whole thing.
Hollow is good.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. When I was talking about Falling Down, the Michael Douglas movie,
yeah,
I love that movie. And it's because you sympathize with the antagonist. You sympathize with the guy who's cracking and going crazy because of this crazy modern world. But they don't do that really here. I mean, he makes a few points, but without being able to sympathize with the villain, it's always going to feel a little hollow.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that they tried to do it in his speech, like when he's talking to the kid, and I guess to his mom at the very beginning before he starts his rampaging.
Yeah, and he does say some stuff during the portion with Andy where about divorced lawyers and his ex-wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think those things. I think those things maybe spoke more to him. I think that I don't know. I think he was giving an opportunity, but at the very beginning, but at the same time, he was sitting there. He's already cracked, right? So he was sitting at that light waiting for something like that to happen. He was waiting for somebody to honk at him. He knew what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like he was trying to give a lifeline kind of at the beginning when he's talking to them through the car.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't believe it, right? So even if she were like, you're right, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have laid on the horn, I should have given you a courtesy tap, then things would go away. But I don't think that would have been the case because he was looking for somebody to hurt.
Right.
I can say one thing that I do appreciate about this movie is that it's called Unhinged, and he didn't go on a rampage with a gun.
Yeah.
Which is abnormal in a lot of movies like this.
He didn't fire a gun one time, did he?
Nope,
just the cop.
Huh.
Yeah, which I appreciate just from my perspective. I think the crazy killer with a gun thing is an easy trope to use, and I think it's used quite often.
Yeah.
People can be crazy and dangerous without guns.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, they have hatchets.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, and what did he have at the beginning? It was like a claw hammer or something, and then a can of gas. And he blew up a whole house. I mean, hell.
Yeah, and that was part of the struggle is, so he explains enough about himself that you get the why, but you don't ever feel like a level of understanding. You don't necessarily
can't relate,
sympathize with his viewpoint, and because his actions so far have been so excessive for,
and you never get to see him. Yeah, you never get to see him before when he was a good guy or anything like that, and then the weight of the world has torn him down.
Yeah, like if they, instead of showing you like all because that's their message, right? Is that cell phones and the news of the devil is basically what they were trying to say at the beginning. But if during the very opening scene, like after you had seen him go on the crazy rampage and kill those two people and blow their house up, if they started flashing up like pictures of him with a kid, and they were like at a beach having like these warm family moments, or, Christmas pictures at Christmas, and, video of them having fun, and, flashing through some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it would have made you a little more, I guess, endeared to the bad guy.
Yeah, they never made him a person.
No.
There's no humanizing, and maybe that's intentional, but I think it makes the movie less because of.
Right.
Agreed.
And then same with your main character, your tortured girl, the choices that she made, and even at the end, when you think she's making this really logical decision by having her kid hide in the secret space in the house.
Yeah.
He's not, your bad guy is not dead. He's not like down and injured. He's just punched her in the face essentially, and when she gets up, she goes in and opens the secret space.
Yeah.
Just sends up a beacon of, here's where we are, our brilliant plan to hide from you, but we're up here chilling.
Right.
And it just, I don't know, that really, really bothered me that she could not seem to make a logical choice.
Lazy writing is what I'm going to go with right there.
Yeah.
Her acting was good, but the writers totally let this film down.
I think they couldn't figure out a way to end it. I think they were like, he's hidden. Now, how do we make the final conflict happen?
Yeah, because we did a good job hiding him, and he's never actually going to get found in here.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Even if he did knock over a bunch of fire pokers or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, one thing we have talked for a while about how what they could have done better, but I do want to make sure to mention the things that they did right, because I really liked the acting in this. I thought Russell Crowe was great for the role. He was menacing and terrifying. But he also seemed like he was a normal dude. who has just gone pushed too far.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that he brought everything that the script allowed.
That's fair.
I actually like the kid.
Yeah.
Gabriel Bateman?
Kyle's the character.
Yeah.
I'm not really big on kids in movies. They usually annoy me, but he was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, he seemed to be kind of level-headed and he didn't panic about a bunch of stuff. Like, it's also a common thing you see in movies.
Yeah, and he was disappointed with his mom, but he wasn't like belittling or yelling at her the way you see like a bratty kid in movies usually.
Yeah.
And then it was good to see Jimmy Simpson. Loved him in Westworld.
Haven't seen Westworld.
Yeah.
Take your word for it.
And then we have to mention our protagonist, the main character. I'm going to let you say that name.
Karen?
That's not the one I'm worried about.
Karen Pistorius.
There you go. That's it. That sounds right.
Also known as Rachel in the movie.
Yes. I liked her. I thought she did a really great job. Usually not for the characters who are like, I can't get my shit together kind of characters. Especially when they don't learn how to get their shit together in a movie. But she was still endearing and likable.
Yeah.
And so, which is not common for me. So I think she did an excellent job. I think the acting was stellar and took what would have been a terrible movie and made it pretty good. Like, okay.
Yeah, if the acting was crappy, it would have been very bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the kind of plot that you go, why did they make this into a movie?
Bad in a bad way. Not even in
a
fun bad movie sort of way.
Not a good bad. A bad bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the acting is what saved this.
Yeah.
From being horrible.
Well, yeah, because it wasn't the plot and it wasn't the writing. So
yeah.
The filmmaking. It was
the stunt drivers.
Smoothly.
The stunt drivers did a good job too.
Yeah.
Or the stunt guy that got thrown off the front of the truck and then took a face.
Oh, that looked bad.
Took a face full of car.
That was not fun to watch. I was like, oh, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, see, and this goes to show you, if you ever get thrown off of a vehicle and you land in the road, just keep rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely don't stand up.
Just keep rolling.
Right.
For me, I think it was the cop that got run over by the 18-wheeler.
Oh, God.
Man,
yeah.
That thing got like...
That one was kind of, woof. Oh, no.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was tough. That flattened that SUV or that car.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was not necessarily a lot of gore in this, but what was there was very intense.
But not really graphic.
Right. It wasn't graphic at all. But
until
it was
the
definitely
end.
Like, ooh.
The
scissors were very graphic, but yeah, none of the rest of it was super graphic.
But it wasn't really that graphic.
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah, fair. Again, I've just got a different threshold for these things.
There's something about kicking a pair of scissors into a man's skull that just doesn't sit well.
It just screams help.
It gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Ooh, don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want a pair of scissors in my skull. I think that's kind of the point.
I don't want to kick a pair of scissors into somebody else's skull.
Well, if you deserve
That's my point.
Yeah, that bothers me less.
Yeah, it's
less, but it still bothers me.
Yeah. Not good times.
All right. You guys ready to get into favorite scenes?
No.
We can try.
Okay. I definitely have a favorite scene.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's hear it.
My favorite scene was the minivan car chase scene.
Okay.
Because I loved the way that they were able to like realize that he was near them on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And then pull up next to them and everything, and the way that kind of took off. And at the same time, I was also wondering at what point he wasn't going to be in the same vehicle, because like people were going to get his license plate, or at least the description of his vehicle as he drove off. It was on the news clearly because it got described to the brother.
Well, yeah, he's already murdered a man,
right,
in a diner.
And exactly, and then the fact that it was the most souped up minivan and steel reinforced machine I had ever seen.
It was
heard. I was like, oh, dude, he stole it from the right guy, because those are few and far between. That monster was roaring.
He crashed that minivan into many things, and it didn't have any dents or lose a bumper or a headlight or anything.
As a teenager who drove his parents, I'm not a teenager now. Someone who was a teenager who drove his parents' minivan. That is not how they work. I can attest to that. Yeah, they definitely fall apart like any other car when you hit stuff.
Yeah.
And they may go vroom, vroom, but it is sad sounding, and they do not go that fast.
Yeah.
There were some car
That's
moments
great.
in this that were a little far-fetched, possibly.
Yeah.
Because as someone who drove a large diesel pickup truck for many years, they are not maneuverable like that.
That was another thing I was surprised about.
You cannot just beautifully drift them through corners. Doesn't
Like I
Yeah.
said, the stunt drivers.
don't work that way.
It's the stunt drivers.
Yeah.
But
It was the acting and the stunt drivers.
it was equally a fun car chase because it was in an old beat up Volvo and what kind of looked like a Chrysler minivan
Yeah.
or a Dodge minivan.
Dodge or something, yeah.
And it was awesome. I loved the absurdity of it. And by that point, I was like, well, I'm already going to finish. Yeah, and at that point, I was already finishing the movie, and I laughed out loud. I had a good time during that scene.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's fair enough.
Very good.
All right. Well, what about you, Rachel? What was your least hated scene?
Oh, totally the minivan chase.
Oh, it was? Same thing?
No, not really, but I don't have
Okay.
one. And you're right. That was actually sort of fun.
Exactly.
It was maybe the only shining moment of semi-happiness in this movie.
It was the least bleak part. Yes, I'll give you that.
Well, yeah, it was the least obnoxious, my God, no one's going to say anything moment of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how about you, Daniel?
My favorite scene was actually at the school when she goes back to pick up her kid.
Okay.
And she flips out on the Nintendo.
No, she didn't flip out on anybody, and that's why it's my favorite scene, because I would have lost my mind. I would have gone absolutely nuts. That's not our protocol. Protocol? I have people being murdered right now, and you want to talk about your protocol? But I enjoyed...
Sorry. Protocol.
Protocol?
Protocol.
But I enjoyed the fact that she zoomed into the parking lot, almost took out the guy that was closing the fence.
Yeah.
Which she was like, "Hey," I'm like, "Yeah, she's the reason you're probably closing the fence." Just FYI, buddy.
Exactly.
But then goes inside and is talking to, I'm assuming she's the principal, and telling her to go get her kid. And the lady's just like, "We're not going to do that. That's not how we do things here." Essentially, is really what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked again, and then she kind of yelled at her a little. She didn't go nuts, but then she immediately was like, "Look, here's what's happening. I have a madman who's threatened to kill my child, who is trying to kill all the people that I know that are in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Go get my kid." And then the next thing you see is them running out the doors.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the fact that she didn't actually just lose her mind on the lady, because like I said, I would have.
Yeah.
But that there was still enough. So there's still enough like competence, I guess, to go, oh, this is serious. We should probably get the kid out of class and let them go. Which is also not something that you would necessarily see in movies, right? Because normally it's like, if you're not going to help me, I'm going to storm down the hallways yelling and making a scene until my kid comes out of class, and then I'm just going to drag him out of here.
Yeah.
So I'll put that as my favorite scene.
All right. Good choice.
It was a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a decision.
All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed our coverage of Unhinged more than the movie itself. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you're just kind of meh on us as well. Either way, please go online and like and subscribe, and make sure to join us next time on Were You Not Entertained?